Good morning. How are you? Apologies for being 2 minutes. Is it 3 minutes late? 3 minutes late. My internet service provider just decided to die. Literally at the moment that I was just about to go live, it just went. So quickly had to change networks to another one, and that's why we have multiple networks. This is the reason to ensure that if we have a breakdown like this, then you can quickly switch to another one. In fact, I've made it a habit to have three networks. So I have three networks active at any given time because I've learned the hard way. But of course, that's what we deal with, and that's why you have to be ready. Anyway, so glad to have you on board. This is Monday, the 15th of July. I'm very excited about this particular Monday because it's the last Monday before my cohort gets started. You know, for the longest of times, I've been asked repeatedly by many people to run a mentorship program, which I was kind of feeling lazy about because of the work involved. And further, I do one-on-ones, so I know what's involved in those one-on-ones. But I realized very quickly that there were two things going on. Number one, I was not being of service. In other words, there were so many people asking. I average I number on average 3 requests a day, 2 to 3 requests a day. So you can imagine on average, that's what, 21? No, but you know, at least not less than 10 people are asking me every week about mentorship. So in view of that, it became imperative that I put together a program which is going to be designed to help as many people as humanly possible to become a part of it. So if you check the comments right now, I have posted the link. If you're one of those that's keen about joining our cohort, the first cohort ever is going to take off on the 20th of July. And that will be the first time we're really going deep into this coaching program. On Wednesday this week, I'm the one in the marketplace, so I will talk at length about what exactly the mentorship program will have. In other words, I will walk you through, I will lift up the hood and show you the back. I'll take you to the back office to see what this mentorship program is going to have. Believe me when I say it's going to be one of the best mentoring platforms you'll ever have or ever find. And when I designed it in such a way that it accommodates the different levels of individuals according to your budget and, of course, the time that you have available to give. So also those of you that have been applying, we have these free mentorship platform academy. It's always available, and I've made that known even to those of you that are going to join the mentoring program. I will be showing you links to all the old material I've done on this platform. It will be on a special place where you can just go to one place and find everything in an orderly manner. Then at the same time, you have access to the archives. And then at the same time, you also will have networks. So you'll be joining into a network of like-minded peers like yourself who are all looking to make a progress in their lives, and so you will be part of that as well. So that then being said, every day we run these mentorship platforms. Monday is yours truly. Tuesday you have Dr. Sunshine Sylvia. She comes through with Mindset Change Program. Wednesday you have the open market. This Wednesday I will be on talking about the mentoring program. On Thursday you have Dr. Nelly with Prosperity for Your Soul. And then on Friday, we have Health Tips with Dr. Jacqueline Mulundika, who is being stood for by Dr. John Mubanga. And let me take this moment to ask that we put Dr. Mubanga's son in our prayers. His son, Vumani, has been nursing a serious challenge with his kidney, and is on dialysis. So it's been very stressful for Dr. Mwanga and the family. I pray all goes well. He's at UTH right now. So I pray things do pick up. I will be calling a little later just to find out how they're doing. So anyway, so that being said, today we are on the topic for the day. Very exciting series. If you've been following this series, this is the Quantum Realm of the Impossible series. And we've been looking at the various aspects of our ability to achieve a quantum leap in performance. And so today we are dealing with the two states. The two states. Very, very interesting topic. Now, did you know that the state of mind and heart in which you choose to operate in has a very big impact on what happens to you, both in terms of the results you achieve and, even more importantly, your overall health and well-being? Did you know that that's the case? We live in an era where lifestyle decisions account for a very significant portion of disease in many people, especially urban big city dwellers. Okay, now those who live in rural areas will hardly suffer lifestyle diseases like hypertension, diabetes, osteoporosis, arthritis, and the like, because their lives and pace of that life are more laid back. Okay, I will certainly make food and access to health access to healthcare services an exception. But if one were to compare the equivalent levels of earning relative to environment, okay, it goes without saying that urban dwellers suffer more of the degenerative diseases than their counterparts in the peri-urban and rural settings. Okay, now in previous topics, we examined the 5 major barriers that impede progress of the majority of persons when it comes to achieving quantum leaps in performance. And for others, even just ordinary increased performance does not happen, and this can be very frustrating. Now, the 5 are obviously 95% of our daily behavior is automated by the subconscious mind. Number 2, our conscious mind is the creative mind, so meaning it does less. Positive speech and self-help are not enough, 3. And then we are products of our environments, 4. And 5, change the programming at subconscious level. I did that last week. So now let's move on. So 2 states of life. That's what we're looking at. 2 states of life, okay? Now, there are 2 states of life that we can choose to live by, and however, most times people default to either one without realizing it, okay? And these are survival and stress and creation and peace, or what we call peace and tranquility. Okay, so people who operate in the survival and stress state of mind tend to access negative resources around them consistently, again, without even realizing it, which in turn leads to a very aggressive and harmful kind of lifestyle. Now, these resources are, and just before I go into what those resources are and why they access them, I need to emphasize something I've been saying over the last couple of weeks. You have to realize that our brains and the way God created us as human beings, He defaulted us towards this thing called the dippy. Now, dippy is a terminology we use in neuro-linguistic programming or neuropsychology, which is basically an acronym for dangerous, important, pleasurable, interesting. This is the gauge by which the RAS, which is the reticular activation system, uses to determine the importance of something, to determine how it will react to an outside stimuli. So if an outside stimuli is perceived as dangerous, then it will always override your thinking brain. So your thinking brain, you got 2 brains, I say this all the time. You got your thinking brain, which is where your logic sits, and you got your emotional brain, which is where your subconscious is, and this is where your emotions are. And the thing about these 2 brains is that the subconscious mind runs 95% of our thinking. The subconscious mind runs 95% of our operation. So in a 16-hour day, over 15 hours of the time you're on autopilot. Now, it doesn't mean there's a 1 hour which you're conscious. No, like of the time. So when you try to distribute and understand how much the brain is working, you realize that 95% of the time we're on autopilot. That autopilot is defaulted to this dippy, which is determined by the RAS, which is the personal secretary I talked about. The RAS, the reticular activation system, is the barrier between your thinking brain, which is your logical brain, and your subconscious brain, which is your emotional brain. And it's the one that determines what's important and what's not important, and what to react to and what not to react to. And unfortunately, we are defaulted and biased towards negativity. And so this bias is so powerful. It's a 9-to-1 negative bias. Why? Because it's so important for survival. If we didn't have the 9-to-1 negative bias, I assure you we'd be dead. And I mean that literally. It's this ability to self-preserve that keeps us alive. Now, that self-preservation whilst it's good for survival and progress, it's very bad also because in the life we lead in the city and in towns, where you will notice that this puts you at the edge. And so you are always stressed. So so we come back to why many people access negative resources rather than positive resources. It's because their dippy is active, and it is that dippy that's quickly pushing them towards the negative because of survival. That's why it's called survival and stress. So what are these resources that people compete for in this stress and survival position? They compete in all things. Now remember, that's the first resource. Now remember, all beings, all biological beings have to survive. And it is this survival that ensures they pass their genetic material to the next generation. And this survival thing, this fitness, survival of the fittest thing, that's what causes the natural inclination for competing. Remember that even in nature, this is amazing, even in nature, did you know that, for example, the other day I was watching some diker at Chaminuka Lodge. I think it was dikers or kudus or whatever they were, but these springbok-like little deer things. And it was so interesting to watch that they have these males and then they have these females, and the females basically gravitate around the males. But what's interesting is that the females only go for the toughest guy. So what they do, when there's a male that comes to challenge the herd, the females just sit back and just kind of watch to see who gets beaten. So once the guy gets beaten, he's kicked out of that area, they mark their territory, and the ladies just hang around the winner. So you find the main guy, the main kudu or whatever they are, they will be the one that get all the ladies, and they're the ones who propagate their seed. So essentially, the fittest seed is what passes on. These weaklings are kind of pushed off. Well, humanity kind of went past that. So nowadays, all manner of weaklings are passing their seed. But that's a topic for another day. We focus on this a bit. So this thing of competing comes from nature. That's what I'm trying to say. So all of us tend to be sort of like wired towards competing, which in this case leads to negative resource acquisition. It's a negative, it's not a positive. Being competitive. Now, there's nothing wrong with being competitive in being the best and whatever, but just remember that this can have a very negative, detrimental effect on your health, as I shall demonstrate. Number two resource they like to access is they fight unnecessarily anytime the situation demands it. Now, it's good to be assertive, but it's not good to fight all the time because you're generating all this adrenaline. And we've talked about this, adrenaline, cortisol, all these, hormones, which are very dangerous when sustained long-term. They're not bad if they are used for a survival danger situation. The building is burning, you want to run. The car's had an accident, you want to jump out of that. If there's a situation you want to kind of fight for it, that's okay. But when it becomes something that's constantly, because the mind has no capacity to distinguish between imaginary danger, or what we say real danger, and imagined danger. Both register and produce the same chemical reactions in the same part of the brain. One of the most amazing things I learned in neuropsychology is that if you take a person right now, where you are, put you in a CT scanner, or a CM, whatever they call it, the MRI, the magnetic resonance inference scanner. By the way, that's my herbal tea for the morning. Very important for the body. Now, you will be very surprised that if I put you in that MRI scanner and I scan your brain, after you take an isotope, I scan your brain, we will see all the activities going on. So if I take a needle and I prick you on your finger, you'll feel that pain, and I'll tell you, hey, I'm going to be pricking you in your finger. And then I prick you. There's a part of the brain that will fire off. Okay, and you will see which part of the brain is firing off. Then I'll say, okay, I'll be doing it a second time. Then I prick you. The same part fires off. Then after 10 seconds of chatting and talking, then I tell you, I'm going to prick you again. Do you know what's interesting is that the brain will fire off again in the same place even before the needle comes. You will feel the pain and react to the feeling of the pain even before the pain comes. And even if I don't prick you, I say, I'm doing it now, the brain will fire up. So it goes to show you that the brain does not distinguish between imagined pain and real pain. It's the same reaction, it's the same firing off. And that's why these kinds of situations will generate this whole situation with fear and apprehension, and they can lead to the fight stance, which is not that great if you're not in actual physical fighting conditions. Number 3, they prefer to manipulate people into doing their bidding. So because of this fear, they want to manipulate people into doing their bidding. These are people who access negative resources. So if they can't get people persuaded, they would rather manipulate them to keep them around them. And then number 4, they keep trying harder with brute force to get their way. So this thing of trying harder. And then number 5, they hope and wish incessantly where the 4 items do not yield desired results that they would like to see. So they are always hoping, wishing, and praying that this thing will go their way. Now, all this puts you in a very tense state of mind we call stress and survival. Now, their focus is outward and toward the environment, and they are always worrying about what they cannot change and letting this fact, stress them. So, my friends, this is what the Bible calls anxiety. That's what the Bible calls anxiety. Do not be anxious for anything. So this idea of being anxious, these are the 5 areas. When you are anxious, when you're in a state of anxiety, you are accessing very negative resources. And I keep saying, if you are in mortal danger, like there's a chance of you dying, this is perfectly normal and important because that's what will help you survive. But if you are not in mortal danger, this is very deadly, and it will lead to serious health problems. I'm probably not going to go into them today, but just know that it's very bad. Now, did you know that this kind of mindset causes the body to produce adrenaline and cortisol on prolonged basis? Adrenaline is supposed to be secreted for short periods of time, not more than 20 minutes each, whose primary purpose is to aid in fighting fear that gets one into a state of heightened perception of the environment in looking out for clear and present mortal danger. They fight where one is able to engage in combat against the perceived danger, and flight where they can facilitate the ability to run away and escape any mortal danger by increasing blood supply to all muscles. In other words, adrenaline helps us survive, hence why I termed in the survival and stress state of mind. Now, if you are out in a war zone or bush, or you are faced with mortal danger from perceived enemies or even wild animals, this adrenaline is life-saving, okay? And it is so important, and usually it is produced so that you can get away from danger. You get supernatural strength, all sorts of things. So, but our bodies were never designed to have cortisol, especially cortisol, okay, being secreted for endless periods of time, as this now becomes very harmful to the body and causes a degeneration of various organs. Let me give you an idea of what cortisol actually does. Cortisol, number 1, it dilates your pupils, so your eyes open further to let in more light for very obvious reasons. It tenses your muscles so that your muscles are ready. Blood supply leaves your brain, goes to your muscles, but interestingly, it constricts the arteries. Why does it constrict the arteries? So that if there's an injury, you bleed less. Then it also stops digestion. So when you're stressed, you can't digest because there's no blood going there. The blood is going to muscles and getting you ready to run. It also dries your mouth, okay? So that all the focus is moved away from digestion to breathing and being alert. It also, these are some of the things that cortisol will do. Now, that's good, like I keep saying, when there's danger. But when there isn't, that's literally slow death. It's very poisonous to the body. You will be shocked how many things that kind of tension causes. Remember, if you're constricting arteries, what's also happening? Your heart rate is going up. Your heart is pumping faster. Why? In readiness, if you have to run, if you have to fight, then the heart must be at high pace. So it quickens your blood, your heart rate. it quickens the pace with which the blood is being moved through the arteries. But remember, the arteries are constricted already in readiness to run. So this is a formula for two things. Number one, increased high blood pressure, and number two, a possibility, especially those who are already prone to heart disease and blood clotting and things that's already formula for disaster. It could lead to an actual stroke. It could lead to a heart attack, because remember, you're in a very tense state. So cortisol is great for survival, running and all that, but not prolonged. And unfortunately, a lot of people who work in town, that's their reality. So many times these individuals go to jobs they hate, work for bosses they can't stand, in places they have no love for. That's already tension right there. I mean, imagine when Monday comes, you get the blues, the Monday blues. They even call the Monday blues. I look forward to Mondays. But people have the Monday blues because you're going where you don't like. So already, from a stress and survival and negative bias standpoint, you're already set off to a bad start because you're already going. And do you know, it's interesting? The highest number of cardiac arrests and strokes actually happen on Mondays. Statistically, that's amazing. Between the hours of 3 a.m. and 11 in the morning. Now, I'm not going to go into the details of why, but I think it's obvious. It's people that are waking up and going, oh my God, here goes again. I'm going to that job I hate, to work for that boss who I can't stand. And many times in these environments, they are very toxic. So, and why are they toxic? Because you're dealing with obviously a very difficult person. But imagine you already hate the job you do. And then on top of that, you have to be dealing with an individual you can't stand. I mean, that's formula in a job you don't like. So whatever you're doing, you're just doing it, as long as I can pay the bills. That's so bad. And then you got to deal with traffic. Huh? You drive to go to this place. You already hate it. And then you have to drive. And then on top of that, you got the kids in the car screaming and doing what kids do naturally. Well, it's already off to a bad start. And God forbid you're in a bad marriage. That's why people literally drop dead. It's all the stress because of this state of life. I am here to tell you guys today, this is not God's design. This is not God's will. If you are listening to me and you're identifying with this, we need to do something about it. That's why I am giving this course now, the mentorship course. We're going to go deep into this. And I'm going to show you guys that you need to make a very, very hard decision and begin to change the scenario, because you can't live like this. That's why many are dying before their time. Anybody who has a heart attack and drops dead in their 50s, they're pretty much dying before their time. Yes, and the truth is that a lot of us could be in that space. I mean, after all, our lives are in the hands of God, but the God I serve promises a long life. A long life. It's an inheritance for his children. So if people are going to die short lives because of disease, most of that can be prevented. That's what Dr. Mwanga is always talking about, that you can live a disease-free life. So one of the things that you have to do is deal with this stress and survival, because the internal state of your heart and body is critical to your well-being. Anyway, so let's move to the other side. So the other side, we have peace of mind and tranquility. That's the other side of the equation. So we had stress and survival. Now I'm looking at peace of mind and tranquility. People operating in creation and peace state of mind tend to access positive resources consistently. They've learned to access the positive resources, which lead to a very passive and beneficial state of life. They are not stressed by what's going on, but they kind of take it in their stride. Like the passage says, do not be anxious for anything. They've learned how not to be anxious for anything. Okay, they are letting go and letting God deal with the unchangeable, things that are outside their control. They have learned that there are things they can control and there are things they can control. So what they've done is the things they can control, they let go. And the things they can control, they deal with. And what is it that you can control? I've always said this, there are 4 things that are 100% in your control. Guess what they are? 4 things 100% in your control. I haven't got time to ask you guys to put answers. In our coaching, we do that. But here are the 4 things you and I have 100% control over. 100%, not 50, not 7, 100%. And they are all part of our inner environment. So the inner environment, we control 100%. We cannot control who becomes president. We cannot control whether rain will come or not, whether there'll be sunshine. We can't control whether Zesco here, we call it Zesco, the electricity company, is going to have the lights on that day or not. We don't control those things, but we control our inside, how we can deal with them. So here are the 4 things. Number 1, we control our thoughts. We can control all our thoughts. That's why the Bible says, bring thoughts captive in the knowledge of God. So you bring them in the knowledge of God. You capture your thoughts and bring them under the subjection of God's will. Thoughts, and then the subsequent emotions, because with thoughts come emotions. And by the way, these two are chemicals. Thoughts and emotions are chemicals. The sooner you learn that, the more powerful you will become, because you realize that I am in control of this environment. Which one? The one inside of you. You can't control what's outside, but you can control what's inside you. That's why in NLP we say what? It's not the events that happen to you that matter, but the meanings you assign to those events. So meaning, what you decide to name it, what you decide to call it, what you decide to view it, determines how you react to it. We can't control, like the saying goes, you can't control birds flying over your head, but you can certainly control whether they nest there. So you can control that. So your thoughts and emotions are in your control 100%. And then the last 2 are your words. Yes, you can choose what to say. That's why the Bible speaks about let wholesome words come out of your mouth. Speak wholesome words continually. And what's number 4? What's number 4? Your actions, what you decide to do. That's totally in your control. You can say, oh, I didn't know what happened. Something just took over me. Yes, your emotions took over you. Your subconscious thing, emotional brain took over, and you had no control over that. And that's why you must learn to control it and bring under subjection. When the Bible talks about the strong man, a lot of people think it's some demon in some spiritual world. My friend, the strong man is you. Get that right. You are the strong man. You are the man or woman that's either letting you live on or die. It's you. It is you that's letting yourself progress or regress. It's you. It's nothing to do with people around you. We lamely always call out other people, hey, this person, all that. I am here to tell you it's you. So these people who operate in the peace of mind and tranquility have learned to, 1, let go. And let things that are outside of their control not bother them. They focus on what they can control. 2, be at peace with themselves and especially the environment in relation to things that they cannot change. So they're at peace with themselves. And then number 3, they have learned to be persuasive because they seek what benefits others as much as themselves. So they always go with a win-win mindset. Win-win mindset, not a I am gaining, it's about me. No, but it's about us. So for example, I'm running the mentorship program. Yes, you guys are paying a fee for my time, but my job will be to make sure that I help you to move from where you are to where you ought to be. So where you are to where you ought to be. Most of you are in this program because obviously you say, you know what, there's certain things in my life I'm not happy with. I want to see if this guy has what it takes to make it happen. Well, I believe I do. So the key lies in you now being able to take that and use it. So you learn to be persuasive because you seek what benefits others as much as yourself. Put others first. That's why the Bible says it is more blessed to give than to receive. See, people don't get that. So when you're giving, what are you doing? Give and it shall come back to you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over. The same measure that you sow in others, so shall they measure back to you. You know, these are words Jesus said, and a lot of people have abused that in relation to giving in church. I am here to tell you it's your entire life. Everything you do is a seed. So give. All right. So this is about others benefiting. Those are people who live in the peace of mind and tranquility. Number 4, they work smartly, okay, with least ease of effort. So in other words, it's not about the hard work, but it's about the smart work. What aspect can I bring in to make my work smarter? And last but not least, they have dogged determination that is focused on ends rather than current circumstances. So these individuals with peace of mind have learned to always keep their eyes on the prize. Not on the circumstances going on, eyes on the prize. Yes, it's important to focus on the ball, but look at the goal as well. That's so important. So many times when things are not going according to plan in your setup at the present moment, you can kind of zone out and look at that prize again and say, what's the goal? What's the goal? I see. Oh, I see. You know, that's why Paul said, I press on towards the goal, the mark, the prize. So that's always the case. So everything in your life, there has to be, and what does that entail? Vision. So what's your vision? And by the way, when we say vision, it's not some mystical thing where God comes and speaks to you in, double or the Dolby surround, Atmos theater sound. No, that's not what it is. Vision is simply the thing that God planted in you. It's already there. Most times you just have to peel past all the onion layers to get to the heart. Your vision's always been there. It's just been marred and blurred and messed up by the environment, because the environment has such an impact on who you become. We've talked about this in the past, and many times we model after our environment and the people who are of influence in our environment, but many times at the expense of who we really are. Take note of that. So where are we now? So the creation and peace people state of mind leads one into a constant state of resourcefulness. That's a nice word right there. Where the solutions, listen to me, literally appear and manifest to them all the time. And where they do not, they patiently await that to happen while working on what they have control over their inner environment. So this is the part I love so much. When you are in this state of mind, you become resourceful. What's being resourceful? The ability to achieve objectives using what is around you and within you. So you don't always wait for someone, but you learn how to utilize what you have around you. Resourcefulness is a very powerful state of mind. And if you can learn to be resourceful, my friends, you can achieve the impossible. The impossible. Just these last 2 weeks, when I've been running this program in readiness for the, because it's a 3-week marketing streak. In these 2 weeks, I have over 250 registered subscribers for the mentorship course. And I'm not talking about those who are just saying, oh, I want to be mentored. No, I'm talking about people who are literally paying, ready to get into the course. They have gone through the initial process. So I know they are far more serious. Of course, there are many. There's probably about a third will drop out for one reason or another. We know that. Then the other third will be looking for the money, but a third will register. And it's quite substantial. For the first time, because I got the process right, I'll have a very decent number. And what is that as a result of? Because I learned to be resourceful. I used, one of the things I did, sorry, I have to end now, but one of the things I was doing a lot is to use third parties to do marketing for me. And I'm a master marketer. I can tell you I can do marketing with my eyes closed. So I'm not telling people to do what I can't do. So the last 3-4 times I used people, the results were dismal to pathetic. Dismal to pathetic. There were no results to talk about. Like my last mentorship run, I used some marketing agency of some sort. We had 1 subscriber. We just had to refund them. Then we had an event where, again, I used the marketing firm. I had 2 people. An event that potentially could earn me over 300,000 kwacha, because we're doing a very powerful event around, what are they called? The insurance company, insurance people rather. We ended up earning less than 10 penny. What we spent was higher than what we received. So this time around, I said, you know what? To hell with these marketing agencies, I'm going to do it. I mean, I'm a don at marketing. I can market. I know how to market. I was born marketing. I got the gift of the gab. I can pitch. Guess what? Right now, our sales, pending payments, which I've already said coming in, pending payments are sitting at over 150,000. What? Over. And today I've got more leads coming in. Just now, my ads have started running, so I know already. Leads are coming, and so 150 and paid already 10,000, pending almost 35, 40,000. So in other words, this first class, by the time we get to Saturday, easily we'll have crossed 40,000 in paid subscribers. Paid. So and of course, a good chunk of that money is going into marketing. So over 30%. That's my rule. All money that comes in stretches like this, 30% to marketing. And what's the marketing for? to pay for the tools, to pay for the systems, processes, so that we have an absolutely interactive first grade A-class experience for the mentees. When they come, when all of you guys come on, a number of you are here for free. When you come on, you will see why we charge what we charge. But we've staggered it, of course, to make it affordable. On Wednesday, I'm going to break it down in detail to show you what exactly will be involved. But where did this all come from? Because of being resourceful. And that's what I'm telling you. Control what you can control. If the marketers can't do it, you can do it. I jump in there. And as we go in the future, when the numbers become overwhelming, one of the things I'll do is literally groom some marketers. So bring in people, groom them, show them for a week what I do from A to Z, and then let them run, and then we come up with some kind of agreement on the payments. But what's exciting is we've got the numbers. So we work on the inner environment, and that's what I need to end with now. So what many do not realize is that behavior always begins in the mind. Below is what behavior traits become over time. So I'm going to end here. I can't go into this one. We're going to do this on Monday next week, probably a bit on Wednesday as well. I'll teach on it, and then I'll be talking about the coming course as well. But I have to end here. I have to end on let me write here. Okay, I'll write afterwards. So what I have to end by telling you guys is that you need to control your inner environment. You need to learn to be resourceful. You need to learn to walk in peace and tranquility. You need to learn not to be anxious. Not to be anxious, to focus on the good. And to remember the resources are already there. Whatever it is you're doing, your resources are already available. Always remember that. Oh no, and you know, whatever you tell yourself becomes true. No, I need capital. There's no money. I can't do this without money. That's how you'll be stuck. I have learned that you should never, ever, ever look at the negative. Whatever you focus on expands. Right there in the Think and Grow Rich teaching. Whatever you focus on expands. So stop focusing on the negative and keep your eyes on the positive, because the resources will come. You know, like the saying goes, all the resources are already peppered in your path by the Creator in the universe. So the universe isn't actually fighting you. What's fighting you is the enemy, not the universe. The universe doesn't fight you, because the universe is part of what God has created and put in place. And so he's done that. And so that means everything you need is already there. So let me end on that note, that everything you need is already in your environment. But it only comes because you develop the peace and tranquility state of mind. As long as you remain stressed and angry and frustrated, you are accessing negative energy, and that energy will come because that's what you're emitting. So whatever you think becomes. And so on that note, let me end. When we come back, which is probably on Wednesday, I will finish this, and then I'll also talk about, of course, the coaching program coming on Saturday, so that a lot of you are able to see. Mr. Chibuye, thank you so much for being part of our call. As you can imagine, Mr. Chibuye, you see what I'm doing. This is going to be like times 10 in the coaching. So I know you won't be able to be available, but we'll catch you in our next cohort. But thank you for what you sent through. That's definitely going to go a long way in assisting us in putting together all the admin and logistics for the event on Saturday. So those of you joining us, the 14-week program is what's coming. So brace yourself and be a part of that. If you want, if you're like listening and like, oh, but where's that? I never heard about it. Go up on the comments, you'll find the link where you can register to become part of what we're doing. Register there. You want to know the costs, the prices, it's all there. So you can then choose what suits you. So on that note, thank you guys. Sorry for going way longer than normal, but I started a bit late and I had a lot to upload. Take care of yourselves, and we will certainly catch you on Wednesday. Tomorrow, Auntie Sylvia is on. Dr. Sunshine is on with her Mindset Change program.